Veteran broadcaster Mthobeli KCI August has died at the age of 47. His family announced that the media personality was found unconscious in his Johannesburg home on Friday. KCI, as he was affectionately known, formerly hosted an afternoon drive show on Mthobeli FM and inspired a generation of broadcasters to reflect on his life and legacy. We're now joined by his former producer, Bongani Nqinqi. Bongani, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for speaking to us at this very, very difficult juncture. Now, while the country was still in shock over the death of Dr. Bongani Nqinqi, we soon found out about the passing of KCI August. What were your immediate sentiments?
Good evening to you, Hugo, and your viewers at home. It was shocking, man. It was shocking, to lose such a talent. KCI was he was just someone who you cannot describe. He was too much of a creative. And really, our country, we are really losing great talent. We are really losing great talent.
So let's talk about KCI's impact and influence on the radio industry. I mean, he's been described as larger than life. He's been described as an individual who performed way beyond his time.
Yeah, no, indeed, that's a true reflection. When we started this thing, we started in a weekend show where he did his magic. But when we were given the opportunity to do the afternoon drive, Monday to Friday, magic happened, man. I would describe him as, he was, beyond excellent. He had that extraordinary talent, for radio. He was a true broadcaster. I think we've done so many things that are like now getting relevant. We've done them long ago. Things that are happening on TikTok now are things that KCI did on radio way back. So he was a true genius. He was a true entertainer. He loved his listeners. He loved his people like so much. He loved the language. He was a wordsmith in his Xhosa.
So let's talk about how he connected with his audience and built that loyal following. I mean, what set him apart from other performers in this genre?
Hugo, what I think made him. He had this thing that you could not predict him. One other thing, he wanted to relate to everyone. From a small baby to your mother. He had that crossover kind of an appeal. Whenever he's creating a content, he made it a point that, that he reaches to that level. And his sense of humor, man, he was on and off air, he was just a genius. He could also impersonate people. I remember back in the day when even people in parliament used to call in and say, you were able to do this, you were able to emulate so Dada or Babu Desmond Tutu and all of that. So he was so great, man.
So let's talk about some of those memorable moments with him on radio. I mean, as a producer, you obviously worked hand in glove in creating some of that magic.
One thing about him also, Hugo, he was like a worker. He had that work ethic. Our preparations were like, pre the show, we had to be there as early as 9 o'clock when the show is it's starting at 3. We cook and then we critique. He was also a very, very, very particular kind of a broadcaster. He doesn't take anything for granted. He was like so much dedicated to his work. All I can say is that, there are few like him. I've worked with so many people, but KCI was like a genius. That I can tell you, bro.
Well, Bongani, how do you think KCI's legacy will continue to influence and inspire future generations of broadcasters?
You can tell even now what is happening on TikTok, that he really changed the game. He really influenced people to be themselves. Also to not be afraid to express themselves in their own way, in their culture. He was just himself. KCI was like, he was just a creative man. So I think his legacy will live on in that sense, that people will remember him as someone who was true, who loved the craft and the listeners.
Now, when we come to when we come to the industry, when we talk about broadcasters and obviously individuals like KC, we only often give them their flowers after they've passed. Just what do you think needs to be done to acknowledge and recognize artists across all genres as important people to our society, whether it's couched for you by the work they do or the amount of influence they have on society?
You know what I think, the whole sector needs to come on board, because really, the entertainment industry, it's a difficult industry to also navigate. So we need people who have walked the path to really impact back the knowledge. And also people must also be taught so many things, finance stuff, how to also invest in your future. And also what is important, that changes are always part of our lives. So people must always be prepared. There must always be conscientized that things will come and they will change. So people must be ready for that, so that they can be able to grow also within the sector. That's my view.
Bongani, that's where we're going to leave it. Appreciate your time, and our sincere condolences to you and obviously all the fans of KC.